Since 11 September 2001, the world has changed much. The Cold War era geopolitical fault lines in Eurasia have dramatically shifted. I'm talking about the geopolitical balances, like the Arab-Israel balance, and the Iraq-Iran balance, and even the Pakistan-India balance. Every one of these fault lines was maintained because the two competing factors could not outmatch each other. In most cases, the world superpower helped to maintain the balance of power, because these geopolitical balances prevent the emergence of a regional hegemon and therefore are within the interests of the superpower. Now, geopolitical fault lines are, after all, part of the divide and rule stratagem. Now, while most people actually complain about the American presence in global affairs, it is in fact American absence that has made these conflicts even more dangerous than ever before. Because once one of these factors can outmatch the other, it creates a disturbance in the balance, and the possibility of a new conflict becomes a reality. As the United States was engaged in the war against terror, they lost the perspective on the big picture, and a lot has changed because of US absence. For one, Israel is a more confident and a more stronger state than before. The surrounding Arab countries no longer pose a military threat to Israel unless the Arab countries coordinate their military efforts. But this is highly improbable. Today, Israel is expanding its influence in the region, but the United States does not want a too strong Israel. Therefore, Washington will slowly and discreetly distance itself from Tel Aviv. Now, this process has already started with the Obama administration. And another thing is that the war in Afghanistan has severely weakened the state of Pakistan. Today, Pakistan can no longer effectively compete with neighboring India, so India is outmatching Pakistan. In order to prevent an Indian hegemon, the United States will have to support Pakistan to keep the balance. This can be done in a number of ways. Washington can support political reforms and increase financial aid and even share to some degree military technology. The next is the Iraq-Iran balance, but after the American invasion of Iraq, the state of Iraq has been under a strong Iranian influence. This is because Washington underestimated the Shia community of Iraq, but also because Tehran double-crossed Washington in Iraqi affairs. Today, Iraq is no longer a competitive player against Iran, and there are no real constraints on Iran. That's why only after the American invasion of Iraq, Tehran was able to emerge in the region, extending its influence to Lebanon, Syria, Bahrain, well beyond its own borders. So in order to restrain Iran, the United States will have to make specific deals and accommodations with Iran, just like Nixon's deal with China. Another thing that the United States will probably do is support Turkey. Now, this is the country that has been the historic leader of the Islamic world, and even today Turkey has the most diverse and dynamic economy in the Muslim world. It also has the greatest military force in the entire Islamic world, and not to mention it is the only major democracy amongst all Muslim countries. The United States has a long history of cooperation with Turkey. So in the end, Washington will use and support Ankara in order to counter the growing influence of Tehran. Now, while the United States was engaged in the Middle East for the past 10 years, the security apparatus in Russia regained its control in the government. And American absence in Euro-Asian affairs has created an opportunity for the Russian state to expand its influence throughout the former Soviet states and even into Eastern Europe. As the deadline for the American withdrawal from Iraq and Afghanistan approaches, the Kremlin will accelerate their power projection in the region. So today, Russia is a regional player in both Europe and Asia. And once the Americans finish their withdrawal process of Iraq and Afghanistan, they will have to deal with a completely different Russia than before 2001. One interesting factor here is the new close relations between Russia and Germany. The interests of Germany are related to the energy resources of Russia. The Nord Stream pipeline is a good example of this. And the interests of Russia are related to acquiring new technologies from Germany. So the United States will need to prevent an accommodated partnership between Russia and Germany. And one method to counter this is by using Poland against the two. Now what you need to understand is that throughout history these countries have been sworn enemies and they have waged war multiple times just to maintain the balance of power. So keep an eye out for American and Polish relations because these will be taken to a whole new level. China will require some observation, but I think China's economy will slow down within the next 10 years. It will become a mature economy, but one with a billion impoverished people. Other than that, there are plenty of neighboring states who can align themselves with the United States to keep China under control. So I don't think China will require much of interference. I think the United States will focus more on Japan, as it has the largest and most significant naval force in the region. The post 9/11 world has seen dramatic changes in the geopolitical fault lines. I think that in the next 10 years these new realities will sink in and we will see many new conflicts arise. The alliances left behind from the Cold War era, they will no longer function in the 21st century. Cold War institutions such as NATO and even the IMF, they will diminish. Allied countries will become competitors, dormant players will awaken, and accommodations will be made with enemies. Well, geopolitics is like a game of chess. First you must analyze the threats, and once you have done that, you must create new coalitions in order to maintain the order. And if the United States wants to maintain its global influence, they will have to get involved in all of these new conflicts. This was a Caspian report by me, Shirvan. Thank you for watching. Sahol.